For me, my earliest sort of memories are sort of thinking that I had an interest in Scotland, so I really thought that I had been transported. There's troubles with the clans in Scotland, and that I had been a son of a clan chieftain. I don't know which clan, but I had been sent through time to this suburban family for safekeeping, and that's how I solved my dilemma of why I was here. I mean, we always have those questions, why are we here? So that was my first sort of thoughts on the matter. So I used to, you know, dance around in pretend kilts and stuff to bagpipes when I was, as soon as I could stand up, which was quite late, actually. I love performing most of the time. You know, there might be certain situations where it's a bit awkward, but I'm experienced enough that I can get out of that. I like that sense of performing for people, if they like it. You know, even if they don't, because there's a certain kind of quality of being that is interesting to live for however long your work is, you know, whether it be 45 minutes on stage. There's a certain sort of openness there that when you're performing that's rather lovely to indulge in, to actually exist within that. As I get older, I'm finding that it used to be that I used to hate the process and I just like to perform. And now what's happening is that I'm quite enjoying the process much more, so that's evened out. I feel that the working process should be interesting and vibrant, and yes, emotions come up, but everybody should be having a good time, or else why do it? Again, we're saying that maybe people have a good time fighting, so that's something that, as long as those parties are used to that and that's how they function and that's how they get their work done, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that kind of thing happening. I mostly get things done through laughing and having a good time. That's the emotion that I use to communicate. There's a whole other thing that if you stop dancing at 40, you're just there as far as performance skills go. But there's a quality with someone who has given themselves, have sacrificed themselves to the art form, which is very different from someone who is just like bubbling around going, I dream, I dream, I dream, I dream.
I was dreaming about the last few projects that I wanted to take on, solo projects, and I'd never worked with Ted before. He's somebody whose work I've admired for a long time, and one of the things that I really love is his wit. And I don't have very many whimsical, you know, things in my repertoire. And I don't think he can avoid that. Working with that, because it's just such a deep part of the way that he approaches the world. I trust him completely. He's proven himself over and over again to be a really strong creator. And also, I felt like our chemistry could be really interesting. We're the very same age. We're both Libra dragons.
Having trained in Toronto, Peggy's an icon in Toronto. And it was the challenge of trying to have my work taken seriously. I still feel like I have to prove myself in Toronto because they don't take my work seriously, I feel, in Toronto. So I've got the elements, they're just all mixed up. I had the right idea.
Yeah.
The little chair is awfully cute.
Too cute?
I don't see it fitting in any other sort of way.
Except for its cuteness factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you want to do some really great things with forced perspective and things.
That's what we were planning, yeah.
Giant,
Yeah.
Peggy.
Yeah. And one of the ideas was to have like a, whatever would be the perspective, to have a half-size violin suspended there so that it was sitting in front.
Uh-huh.
I first knew Ted when he was director and choreographer for contemporary dancers. I must say, in the beginning, I thought Ted was not a heavyweight. I thought it's a little camp, a little bit, a little bit kitsch. But I soon ate those words. I always called him the Buster Keaton of dance. Why I was laughing at something, the next minute I was crying. I was theatrically so moved and so touched. He's the most quiet thunderstorm I've ever seen.
Oh, he was so cool. He had the sideburns. It was when he had the sideburns and he had a tail. Like he used to have short hair and a tail, and it was just like, and he was adorable. He was absolutely adorable and crazy. He was like the most eccentric person I had ever met.
He's not the typical father figure. He's more of like my friend than like a father figure. I don't think I could accept like discipline from him.
I got married in '83, December '83, the date that I took monk's vows. Well, what I did when I took my monk's vows is that you have to say a little poem kind of thing. And what I said was, I got married on December the 8th, 1983. I guess I knew I was supposed to take vows. I just was confused.
I think actually when Rebecca came along and I started to get more and more into being a mother and stepping back from the work a little bit, and he also went off and did this Buddhist thing. It was like he was clutching for something other than work to make sense of his life.
There was no real decision. It's just one day I went to an introduction to Zen workshop. Next thing I knew, I was a monk. It's as simple as that.
I just kind of became aware of the fact that he was living in a monastery. And it was really funny because he would talk to me about Zen sort of things. And he would try and get me to understand. And he would try and expose me to stuff like that. And he would be like, try and feel your feet and feel your hands. And I'd be like, okay.
I think it's just a natural progression. I think that every human being has questions at a certain point. And you search for answers. You search for them anywhere you can. That was just my particular search, and I don't believe in just sort of dabbling a little bit. I want to take it as far as I can go. I went as far as I could go. Basically, people want a lot of things for nothing, and they want so-called happiness, but they don't even know what happiness is. I mean, happiness is just this fleeting little thing that happens that everybody wants more of. I'm much happier living alone. Everything, it's impossible for me to blame anything about my living situation on anyone else.
I think he just does it to be funny. He tries to make people laugh. That's my views on his performing career, that he's just up there being a goof. And yeah, I think people take him too seriously.
You know, I think, may I comment about like filming while I put on my makeup? I think it's very traditional. I hope you don't use it. I used to think that as artists, what artists do is that they teach society about how to live 50 years from now. You know, when I was much younger, I wouldn't have much money, but at least the places that I lived didn't look poor, they looked interesting. And I think that that's the difference, is that there's not a sense of poverty with an artist of any genre, because they may not have any money, but they have a sense of who they are and what they do. And therefore that reflects in the way that they dress, and that reflects in the way that they live and how they choose to live. You have to be ready to accept ostracism. If you're going to go a different path, you have to, and this strengthens or defeats you. I was always pretty much performing in my own work all the time since 1980. And I noticed that no matter what I would do to change the costume or the concept, there seemed to be a certain quality of sameness about how I would perform. And after about 5-6 years, I realized that there was actually like this, who I'd call the little guy. He would actually be performing, so it wasn't me per se, it was this little guy, this little schizophrenic, but he would perform. And so no matter what, it was sort of like a double thing, because he really believed that what he was doing, if it was called upon that, you know, I had to be seductive in any way on stage, this little guy really thought he was being seductive. He would live that. If I felt that I was doing serious modern dance, he would do that. Or if he was just wearing nice clothes, he would do that. Or if he was, you know, he would act the part of being a geisha, he would act the part of, and he was a good actor. He thought he was really, really good. So it's sort of this distance, but, and so when I'm on stage, I'm sort of this little guy. I don't want any pictures of me smoking anymore.
Too late, I know.
I describe Ted as someone who has a great sense of hope and humor, whose on-stage persona I refer to as Ed, which is Ted without the T. I do say that he's an ex-monk, and which really I find does help people connect to the type of sense of ritual that Ted has, not only you know, in his work but in his life. You know, he's like a haiku. He's just takes something simple and just keeps spinning it until it reveals its truth.
Our first real big working session was in July. There we would do 6 hours a day for 4 days and just improvise, improvise, improvise. And that, I think that, you know, you get to know more about somebody dancing with them than you do talking with them, for sure.
What am I doing? Oh my God, is that
Yeah.
right? Oh, that didn't quite work.
Yeah, I was working.
And and I kept thinking, well, you know, that's what makes us good, is that we can take the bad stuff and work it out anyway.
Yeah.
You know, especially with this kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, you take so much history out on stage with you.
Still, like you asked about being comfortable or not, if that's the edge that makes it work.
So you didn't find it too ponderous?
No.
No.
This is a technique that we know that is as refined as point work. It's something that you just experience. I don't think you can, you know, it's like spending your whole lifetime doing something, you kind of know how to groove it. You get the feeling of it and you know it in a, it's not there is an intellectual aspect to it, but as I said, intelligence is too slow. It's just too slow. The brain, if you were thinking the way I'm talking now in this, it's just too slow. The closest I could come would be like, because you travel with just sort of that way, you know, and that would be the kind of conversation that your head is able to. It's kind of like a scat, like a jazz kind of thing. You're just sensing, moving, shifting, shaping.
Working with Louise, I knew that she wanted me to choreograph everything. And this will give me a definite challenge. It's a big challenge to dance with Louise. I mean, I may look like a real goof out there. I don't know.
I had a good feeling just when we talked. It was very little, we didn't talk so much, I think. And when I saw his piece from Mako, oh, I liked it so much that I thought, already I like to try, you know, even if I'm not sure I can do that style. My confidence in myself is never so great that I always think like, okay, what can I bring to somebody, and can I do their work? And because I worked for so long with the same person. I worked with Edward Locke for 18 years. So people would think maybe it would give me great confidence, but I think it had the reverse effect. I'm never sure if I can work for somebody else, if they're going to be disappointed. An actor who has no work, he's not an actor anymore. Me, a dancer with no work, I don't feel like a dancer. Although I should know better and know that I'm dancing even when I'm not dancing. But there's this thing without choreography, how can I say I'm a dancer? But as soon as I start to work, like especially now with Ted, I really like what he does and I like to work with him. The simplicity towards dance comes again, you know, for me.
But the great thing about Margie and Louise is that they really do, I think they vibrate at a different level than other human beings. You know, even though Margie cracked her tibia and did all that stuff, I mean, we were still rehearsing. It's just that, you know, when she couldn't stand up, she'd sit on a stool and we'd still rehearse and we'd improvise, and she just wouldn't move she wouldn't have any weight on her feet. So she never stopped. I mean, I would just say, forget it, and I'm not going into the studio, but she went into the studio every day, even when it was like really fresh. The whole nature of the work changed.
I just kept wanting it to shift into something more sort of light, because I feel that it goes pretty heavy then.
Yeah.
I think maybe I should just go to sleep if this happens.
A lot of dance people do describe their most intimate relationships as the actual onstage partnering is a remarkable, and co-creating is a remarkable soul sharing.
There's no matter of keeping up when you're in that kind of, with that kind of person. The same thing with Margie. It's just like you sort of like fit into that little slot, and your energy just rides along. I was robbing them of everything I could get because, boy, I wanted that energy. Because I'm naturally kind of slow. I feel energized even just talking to either of them on the phone. I get a little perk.
I just like to dance, and with Ted I feel that's very simple. It's natural. I can laugh at myself because I think he's very able to laugh at himself too. And that's, for me, that's very important. If I put so much pressure on myself in the studio thinking I have to be an artist and I have to be great, I'm not going to show up here for sure.
Wow, good.
That for the new section?
Yeah.
Okay, that.
Tack. Yeah.
Then here, that. It's 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And a 6, 7.
1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yes. She's very happy all the time. She's very happy all the time. It's great. So even if I was tired, because we've always rehearsed, pretty much we've always rehearsed in the afternoon. Very, very positive energy. It's great. Can I make some artistic suggestions? I was thinking that like this interview kind of thing seems pretty pat, you know, format kind of style. And I thought maybe you should break this.
Yeah.
Yeah, break this idea of doing interviews because it's not really that's different from a documentary.
Yeah.
So I wanted to sort of get this point across that like doing interviews, talking heads are not really documentary.
No.
You should be just sort of like madly following me around.
We don't have the budget to madly follow you.
So, as you can tell, things are a little rough right now. Toronto's always a dark place. It's not bad when I'm here. The idea of coming to Toronto always makes me a little anxious, annoyed. It's a little bit like just before you die and you think you're going to go to hell. That's sort of my approach to Toronto. It's all conceptual right now, and except for what Peggy and I have done. But now I have to figure out what all this means, and it's difficult because we keep getting caught up in talking too much. It's difficult to keep things going on a discovery, exciting level. when there's facts about what has to be done. We have to get down to the nitty-gritty of doing sort of reality work rather than it's time to get things together reality-wise, and that's always it's a hard thing.
I'm not sure what's there, though. Why are we doing that? Just so I understand.
This is like percussion.
I mean, I understand this because the bar top makes something really final, and then after that, I don't understand why that's there.
Well, maybe it shouldn't be there, but...
If everything just goes along the way that you think it should, and nothing's ever challenging, and nothing's, really, then maybe it's not worth doing. So maybe this is a really good thing, that it's a bit of a hard grind right now. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on, a lot of things that are now out of my control, and this is hard for me to take. Not that I'm a control freak, but yeah.
Are you a control freak?
I don't think anyone ever knows if they're a control freak. Only the people around them know if they're a control freak. Every time that I put a work on stage, my job's on the line. I'm out there, I'm putting something on stage, and it's about to be judged by everybody who comes there, by papers. It's out there for public bloom. I don't think it should be that way. I think that it's, I'm not sure that that's a good way to be, but that's the way it is.
So I'm having to learn a lot of really detailed connections in a pretty short amount of time. I'm hearing different things all the time in the music, and Shauna brings out different things by her playing, and that's something very natural for her. She just can't stop exploring the music she's playing. It's quite amazing, actually.
It's hard letting go because it's fun, especially when you have two performers that are like extremely highly tuned sports cars or thoroughbreds of their respective fields. It's really difficult to give up the process of forming the thing.
It was a real collaboration in the sense that it was evolving every day, and he would present me with, a different thought. Mm-hmm. Perhaps not finished, perhaps maybe not even appropriate, because we didn't know exactly. So it was definitely a different way to work than just being presented a complete score, and then, because it wasn't about that, we had to try and figure out how this conversation was going to take place. It's on the edge, for sure. We are right on the edge, but I think that's where we both like to be. Not precariously on the edge, so we're going to fall over, but on the edge of creativity and of working together.
There is a feeling of, when you finish any set of performances, you feel, oh, we may never, either do it in this space again, or maybe we'll never do it again, or in this city, or for, it's just a little, you get a feeling for how fragile that is and how sort of elusive, and it just sort of floats away.
As I leave dress rehearsal, I think the whole show is going to be great. Good for Peggy, bravo. It's done. It's cooked. Now we're going to serve it and see if they like, I think as long as people don't throw up after dinner, it's all right. And we'll see how they feel the next morning, Okay, bye. That's the one thing I regret doing, was saying yes to Peggy. Because I knew it would be too much, and that perhaps my decision-making process would be hampered by that fatigue, that work fatigue. And I think it was. I think I sort of gave up on the old suffering artist thing a long time ago. I used to be indulgent in that. And that was fun for a while. I used to mope around a lot. And I still, I get depressed. It's more like exhaustion, physical and emotional exhaustion after a show. Yeah, 3 weeks, I'm gone. And then I have to drag and pull and scrape myself up this body to wherever it's going, whatever city it's going to next. But then as soon as I'm in the studio, the energy just like whips in and it's no problem. It's keeping the momentum going in a good flow. The process is going great with Mako. We've been working, we did 14 minutes of material in 7 rehearsals. Quite complex material. And then we both broke down. It's good. It doesn't matter. Whatever's good for Mako. Right? It's good for Mako, it's good. Okay. Mako, okay? With her, it's totally different because with Louise and Margie, a lot of their energy is manifested in words. And with Mako, she doesn't speak a lot, even in Japan, she says. She's a very, very quiet person. But not being able to speak, being able to speak very few English words, I don't see her in the same way. I just know that we made a huge artistic connection the last time I worked with her 2 years ago. She just knows sort of instinctively what I'm up to.
First time I saw you was in Japan.
はい。
CJ とのプロジェクト
CJ
で
project.
仕事に没頭してる中でリハーサルでテッドさんが
I
現れ
think
たのかな
you
一番
were
最
you
初
came to see me while we were doing some rehearsals or something
At National
at
Theatre.
National Theatre. Yeah. As a relationship,
問題なし
it's no problem. She said.
Yeah. One of the most exciting things about creating in the studio is when you do some movement and then you see that movement travel through another body and it comes out more exciting to you without any effort. And it's like that working with Mako, that there's no effort for me to make movement.
日本人だと、まあ、気が通りやすい
In
の
Japan,
は当然なんですけど、
between Japanese people, it's so easy to communicate, so you can say 気が通る, you know.
ある意味テトさんは
But
最
Ted,
初から
from
気
the
が通
beginning, I
る
can really say that 気が通る, I can really feel
存在だったよ。
I feel so at home, you know. So it's so surprising to me, she said, you know.
I want to go to Florida and just forget about doing it. Escapism. Avoid. No, it'll be fun. As long as everything's in order, and it seems to be. As long as everybody keeps healthy, it should be fine. There's lots of things that I've done in a premiere situation that are nervous responses at the time, that I overdo things, and I don't like that. It's not necessary. A mug, basically. Worried about in this show coming up that that I won't know what I'm doing on stage. That's what I worry about. That's the only thing that I worry about. Is that I'll make a fool of myself. Which, you know, how can I? Everybody thinks I'm a fool anyway.
One by one. Oui. Non, tout en ligne. Puis moi, je me tournais jusqu'en arrière de Yannick, puis après ça.
I've never been in a situation where all three of those performers, and well, all the performers, the musicians and the dancers, were totally there to support the project. It wasn't a matter of, it was just anything that they could do to get things working and smoothly. In a sense, they're very unselfish performers. So they give to the audience, and when they're in that mode, I think that they understand the aspect of just, in a sense, being not concerned with so much their needs as the needs of what needs to be done.
When was the last time you performed, Louise?
One performance when I was 2 months pregnant in Mexico. That was 2 years and a half ago.
So how do you feel tonight?
I always feel like a beginner, even when I was dancing and touring a lot, but a bit more shaky maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, it doesn't change so much. It's just I have less kind of a habit of the stage preparation and all that. This is a bit gone, not gone completely, but it feels very new again.
We are capable of such intimate discussion so quickly that, like, we stand inordinately close to each other. We, socially, when we first meet, usually, we're very spatially aware. We achieve intimacy really quickly, and we appreciate people who can achieve that same kind of intimacy, respectful intimacy, conscious intimacy very quickly, and are willing to go there. It's like, it's time to reveal. There's a kind of a visceral honesty, and if we don't achieve it with other people, I think we quite frankly get bored.
It's been much pleasanter than I thought. Much more interesting, much more fascinating. And probably a very significant artistic event in my life as far as influences and in pushing myself beyond where I thought I could go, this kind of thing. So a very worthwhile, personal event. I question the significance of not only what I do, but what you do. The type of thing that I'm involved in doing, I think, allows for a momentary release for an audience person. Just, it's a momentary thing. And it's not significant in a long-term perspective. And that it seems strange that we're trying to record something that is only momentarily significant.